Okay, hi everybody, this is GeoWill from Productions², and here to do a little bit of streaming tonight. I was going to do this earlier this morning, but I decided that I would just do it tonight instead. We're only going to be streaming for maybe, I'm only going to be streaming this for about an hour and a half, maybe. I'm going to keep these streams, off-day streams, a little bit shorter than what I normally would. So what we'll be doing tonight is more RPG Maker MV plugin development stuff. We'll continue working on the class changer plugin. Okay, so let's get right into it. So we were in the process of trying to figure out how to best do this junk here, insofar as the restriction system. Figuring out how to make it work better and take less code and be a little more concise. So armor equipped, checking that. We're pushing everything into these lists, which contains restricted weapons and armor for the class that we're passing through. Okay, and once we have all that done, and we set these up to do items as well now. So this won't be equipped. This will be. We need to check to see if the actor has this in their inventory. Let's see. Let's go to. I think it would be this one. Game actor. Actually, it's game actor. There we go. So there's got to be a function in here that's about figuring out what's in their inventory. So we need to figure out where it's at and use that instead of the is equipped. Actually, no, it's game party. It would be underneath game party because items are a party thing. So exists, let's see, is empty members, leader, revive battle members, items. So this returns a list of item IDs. Equip items, all items in a container, name. So maybe we could do a filter on the list of item IDs, possibly. Has item. Let's see. Include equip because I can find false. Item include equip. So this would be the ID. It calls this num items. Okay, so we need to call game party has item. Pass through the ID for the item and then false for the equip. So we don't want to check that. because we're checking a specific character. We don't need to check every character in this case. And this is just for items anyway, not regular equipment. So we don't want to do that one. Have that one be processed through there. So we need to see game party is a global, so we can just call it wherever we want to. So game party dot has item. Oh, this one. Okay. I could probably need to change that on all of them, actually. Oh, never mind. I did change it on that one. This one, rather. Yeah, I did change it, okay. But that's not good. That's what we're pushing into there. I just now noticed that. That is not good. Alright. Go ahead and change that then, so that's not there. So we're going to be resetting the friggin' this list every time we do that, so... What about this one? Same thing? This one's wep. So armor was like the weird one because it's armor. There's no such thing as armors. Armor itself is both singular and plural. At the same time, it's one of those really freaking weird words that can do that. Same as data. Well, data, maybe not data so much. Kind of, sort of. Alright, so now, once we have all these done, load restrictions. So once we have that, I think once we have that done, that's all we needed to do. What was this thing down here about? We had this restricted class list length. And okay, that was part of that. Okay, yeah, we don't need that. So I believe what we're gonna do was after this got done processing, we'd have these filled since they're defined globally, and then wherever we called this from, we'd like check to see if there's anything in those, and if there are, continue processing the restriction checking and whatnot. Yeah, up here. So checking all those. If there are any restricted weapons, check them. If we have info being false, then we're just going past it for whatever reason. Still not sure where this is coming from. Let's go check that out. That's kind of weird that that's... Okay, so that's getting passed through as a parameter. Okay. Which parameter is it? The second one. So, process requirements, you pass it as true. This one gets passed as false. And player can class change. If requirement length does not equal 0, requirements.length, then fill requirement vars and check requirements, null and false. So why are we doing that one there? Oh, okay. This is processing the requirements in there, and then this is just if the player can class change. This could probably be folded in somewhere else. I think it does. It seems to do like the similar stuff to this that this does. So this is probably duplicated, and we can figure out some other place to put it at eventually. Once we get the rest of the system kind of pared down a bit. Anyway, so back down here. There. So we go into these, we fill those. Once we're done, we're checking them. For each one of these, we are displaying them in the window, and seeing whether or not it's equipped. So if it's not equipped, we're saying that they need to be. Now this is the normal kind of thing. We're kind of doing two things at once here. So this is like the normal stuff for having equipment equipped and whatnot. We also need to have, though, some checks or some other functionality that happens based on these being a restricted, having the restriction flag on them, in terms of classes you can change to. That's somewhere else in the code. We'll have to figure out where that's at. Probably up in the class list window somewhere in the processing for that. So got that, put them out there, and we do the same for any required classes. Else, what's this else for? So if parse, and so if that doesn't equal, then we're skipping it. Okay. So if the required class is not in the character, okay, so it's not in, it was not a class that the character has been yet. We are calling this stuff and passing it through and saying you haven't been in this class yet. Change to it. And we're doing the same thing on this one. So if the requirement isn't met, we need to... Okay, so we're missing an else here. That's why it looks kind of weird. So wait. So if, and then if. That closes this. So this actually needs to be inside here. That was the stranger bit of it. Then else, basically need to call what we did down here. Exact same code. One might say we could probably refactor that somehow since we're using the same stuff. Same code multiple times, but it's only 2 lines. I mean, if I was using it, 10 or 12 times in a row, maybe I'd say, okay, that can be something else. But if we're only using it twice, maybe 3 times, in this function, then I don't think we need to move it out. It's relatively small amount of code in comparison to the actual full size of this file. So, okay, so once all that's done, we go down here. We do the spacing processing to move the cursor to another location on the window to be able to put something else in the requirements window, and then we do a break. Keep going until we're done, and then we hit this stuff down here. So this stuff is kind of doing what we're doing up here, actually, because we're checking if the... So we're looping through those 2 again. We are parsing out that ID and seeing if it's a class that they've been before. And then I2 does not equal... So I2 is not the... so we're not on the last... and we're not in the last element of the actor class keys array. Then break. Else, if we are in the last one, if I2 is not 0 and I2 equals the last element of the array, we do a parseInt. We're again checking to see if it's there or not. If it is, break. If not, then we're displaying this bit. So I think really we're kind of doing this up here. I don't think we need this. Let's see, gender check. Okay, so if required gender is length is greater than 0 for each gender ID and required gender, we're checking the actor genders, actor to actor ID, so the current actor we have selected. So if that's not undefined, or not null, or the length of actor genders for the actor we selected is not 0. And in addition to all that, if one of those is true and the actor's gender is the gender required, then we do this, else we do that. And then we do our thing down here. And then if all these checks are passed, then we set be actor can change to true, or we set to false. So item, gender, class, weapons, armor. Now, the question I have is, this will never hit true because, well, in certain circumstances. Okay. So that's why we had that other call for us, because, so we run through this twice. What the hell? Why? So we're calling this once to set up the requirement window, like to actually draw this stuff. We're going through this thing again a second time then to determine if the character can change or not. We should do it all at the same time. So let's remove this out of here entirely. Just get rid of it entirely. I'll keep the class window because I think we need that for drawing things to it. I think we pass it through on some of these. Yeah, we're using it for this. But anywhere where we see this thing here, we're going to get rid of this. So, well, not get rid of it, but what we're going to do is we're going to change how it's working here. Allow us to get rid of a few lines of code. Probably have to replace them with more, though. So, var okay, W equipped, and W is W is this. Okay, gotcha. So here's what we need to do on this one. If at any point W, we'll do it before this. If at any point W equipped, if W equipped equals false. So at any point this is false. Set this to false. And we're going to actually leave it set to true up here. So what's going to happen is that if none of these is ever false, it'll stay true. If one is false, it'll change to false. The reason you want to do it the other way is because, let's say that, well, I guess it could work the other way too, technically. Because if one thing is false on these, then you shouldn't be able to change your class. So actually we can do it that way. This is one of those weird times where this can actually work without having weird crap you have to do to account for certain things. So instead we're going to say equals true. And then we're going to say is true. I think we set it to false up here by default. And this is not going to be class check, this is going to be weapon check. And we're only going to call this once instead of twice. We're only going to call it when we're actually drawing the things, and we'll use so where's the, I think this is a global. Yes, it's a global. So Need to go through and look at all that to make sure we're not going to be unsetting it if we don't need to. Whoops, we went past where we want to be. Find previous. There we go. So, yeah, so we just need to take this, and we need to add it to each one of these and change the, change this thing. Should be arm, I think. Armor. Whoops, we need to put in otherwise false. I forgot that. It's very important to have that in there. Okay. There we go. Of course, now we can get rid of all this stuff too. Again, this just helps us get the class to be a little more clean looking. Class, the function. Take a few less lines of code, be a little more clean, and we don't call this damn thing twice because this thing is going to be a CPU clock sync, CPU time sync, because it's doing a bunch of for loops and crap. If you have to call 2 for loops, you don't want to call it more times than you have to. So I mean, some people might ask, well, why? It's a game. It's on somebody's computer running. What's the problem? You're just doing certain kind of sort of simple sort of checks and things. Well, the answer is because one, it's just good programming practice not to call a double nested for loop more than you need to. Two, your goal as a programmer is not to dumb down your code or your principles or your responsibilities as a coder because it's running on somebody else's computer. Your responsibility is to make something as efficient as possible. That same thing applies to it being a non-business setting. It applies doubly for business settings. So if you're writing code like this in a business setting, yeah, yikes. For sure. Though sometimes you have to. I mean, sometimes there's just no getting around it because maybe the language you're using doesn't have a good way to deal with crap like that. Where were we? Yes. Yes is where we were. Okay. So above that, now we need this one has to change though. This one has to be in inventory. And and it's got to be item check, ITM check, I think. Or just item, okay, item, actual item. ITEM. TEM, item check passed, true or false. Okay, that's done. So, now here we're going to use is true. Crap. So equals true. If I can type the damn characters without typing something else. Down here we're just going to say it's false because at this point it's always going to be false. Because we've failed the level check, I believe it is. Down here we're also going to say it's false because we've... Or no, wait. Yes, because at this point the character hasn't been in the class even yet, so that's like a double false or something, I don't know. And that will deal with that. Now on this. This too, it's either going to be true or false, based on the conditions. There's no in between. You're either gonna pass it or you're not. So that's also a simple kind of just refactor there. doesn't really change the lines of code, but changes the number of characters and reduces the complexity of the logic a bit. So that works. So required gender length. Okay, so if there is nothing there, we're passing it as being okay. Same thing with these. We need to do an else. If there are no required weapons, we need to do this as a true, because there aren't any requirements to consider. Same thing with all the others. And space. Okay, that should be item check passed. Okay, now that should allow us to do what we're doing with 2 calls to this and 1 call. Should. It's the keyword there, should. Never hear the word should, there's always a but nearby somewhere. Go ahead and clean that up a little bit. Oh yeah, these else's can come out. Okay, so I think we've got this pretty well refactored. We could probably do more, but it's 100 light years better than what it was before in the first place. So we've already kind of done our job here. Now, oh right, this has to change too. Should be class armor. Class items. Well, now I should get that apart. You could do it all together, but I like to try and keep certain things apart. These two are doing similar things. They're both setting values of elements within this. This is adding this to this list, so that's a clear demarcation of functionality. Usually when I have things like that, I like to put spaces between them, just for readability purposes. But if I can get away with doing stuff like this should just be 1 line. And this should be on the next one. If I can get away doing stuff like this, I will. As long as the line's not too long. Like on this one, for example, I'm probably just going to pull this down. Now it's still kind of fits. This is just in the way. If that wasn't there, it would fit properly, so that'll work. Actually, that should be on its own line. I'll only do it for the first one since it's all pretty much the same on those, so that's not that big of a deal. So check if actor has been a required class. Then check if actor has required level of required class. Okay. So gender check, that's pretty much, it's pretty standard stuff. If all checks have passed, allow character to change classes. This is all pretty much self-explanatory. Don't need to do much coding or much commenting there on that stuff. So now this stuff. So this is fill required rec vars. So we got our require. Okay, so this is the requirement arrays that we're filling. So this stuff could probably, a lot of this can go away actually, because this is kind of taking the place of the class that we added. So up here, we put in this class that stores all this stuff in it that we can that we then use to create instances to store the node tag data. Somewhere up here, where the hell are you? Oh yeah, here it is. So we already have these like lists, these arrays, object arrays that have the required items, weapons, armor. Then we have like the required classes, which is also one that has its own stuff in it too. So we just need to call this from the from that list. So this stuff down here can mostly go away, I think. Just got to figure out what exactly. So all we were doing was filling this stuff. Now, this becomes a question. So this is actor class keys. We still need to do that for sure. This still needs to be done for sure. The rest of the stuff I'm not so sure about. This definitely doesn't need to be done because that's part of this up here now, part of the classes list in the other classes, required classes object list, object array from the other object, the other class we created. So let's see. Required classes, act keys, I1. So, instead of doing that there, what we can do, and we could do it down here, because we still need to pull out the, well, we don't need to really, do we? This is the question versus, this is the thing that always goes around, which is go for a little bit more complicated code to reduce the need to pull things out of objects to store and process over, or go with the simpler code and break encapsulation. It's a tough call. Depends on the product, really. Like if you're building something that by breaking encapsulation you could potentially leak out certain sensitive information to someone that shouldn't have access to it, or some process that shouldn't have access to it that then allows someone to get access to it, then you shouldn't do it. And this kind of thing, it doesn't really matter. It's just your personal style and what you think is more efficient. What I would like to do is I would like to get rid of this freaking code up here, because we don't necessarily need to do this stuff. What we may need to do is to pull out that class object array from the game classes object array and store it in its own thing, so we don't have to call the game classes thing to get it every time. But it would be less code to do that. We'd have one less thing stored in memory to have to worry about. So that might be a good thing. In game development, one thing you have to keep in the back of your mind is memory. Systems don't have unlimited supplies of RAM. And depending on the system, how old it is, and what engine you're using and what its capabilities are, you may be limited to 32-bit addressing, which means you only have access to, at the very most, 2.5 gigabytes of RAM. Now, 32-bit is supposed to be able to do 4, but if your game's being played on a 32-bit system, you're not going to get that. You're going to get 2.5, because the other 1.5 or more, so it might be less than 2.5, but the other 1.5 is all reserved by the system in 32-bit addressing. So, yeah, I think we'll just have to go with the option that uses less RAM. It's just what I'm going to go for. So to change that now, we got to change all this stuff that we just were working on. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. Anywhere where we're using those, any of these classes up here. So I'm just going to go one by one through all the code, and we're just going to see where all this is at. Oops. So that's fine. We don't need to worry about that. Don't need to worry about that. So that's in the game classes. So that's the first time we see it, and this is the first time it's used. Okay. So what we need to say now is we have our selected class. So I believe we have to use a find, because we want to look up the key for that. Let's see. JavaScript. Find function element, return element greater than 10, 12. Well, that's just for a simple array. I want like a JSON array almost. Just an object array, find key. I think it's just dot find, but oh, duh, has own property. Of course, we already looked this up the other night. Holy crap! All right, so GM classes, I believe. Has own property, and that's going to be selected class. Then when we pull that, we're going to call get rec classes, and then we're going to do a dot length on that. So what this is going to do is we're going to pull out the specific class from game classes, and then from that class we're going to call the get required classes. That's going to return our rec classes object array, and then we're going to get the length of it for this. Looks a little bit more complicated, but it's simpler than pulling it out and storing it. Kind of like, oh, it's kind of like what we did here. Actually, it's exactly what we did here. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't want to. I don't want to use that anymore. So now parse int. So we have our selected class, which is an integer. Prior class is I1. I mean, I'm going to assume that that's going to be the actual ID that we're using. Selected class. Let's get selected class, which is selected class. Which is this one, which is going to be on. So that's calling an index plus 1. So the index is the. I think the index is the class ID. Yeah, because we're drawing them to the list in the proper order of the IDs of them. If we weren't, then that wouldn't work. But since we are, that'll work. So yeah, so we can just use that instead of having to do that craziness that we were doing. So that was on one less, or one below. Here we go. So instead of using this, so we're checking. Okay, so just say select class. Oh wait, so var GM classes has the required classes. Yeah, this gets a little bit insane, doesn't it? Plus, we continually are going to be calling this from there. So now we have to get into a question of whether all these calls are going to add more than have more negatives than storing the thing would. And again, I think the answer could be yes. Though RAM should take precedence over CPU. CPU time clears eventually. Stuff processes and gets out of the way. You got something stored in RAM, unless you unassign it, it stays there. So it may not look pretty, but I think that's probably the way we'll do this. What we need to do with this now is, I think we just have to do a so it has some properties. We're getting the number of classes in this. We need to get the current key. So I think we could do this I1 ID. I think. Not entirely sure. Let's see. Is it com or is it? That's not JS for the com. I think it's .NET. Yeah, it's .NET. All right. So let's see here. Just gonna make this larger for a moment. So in our JS, we're gonna have a var test equals. We're going to go var, or rather test, var temp. Yeah, there's originally I was doing another var. So then we go, this will be in a var I1 equals 0 to 3, I guess. We'll just do some thing out here. Test div out there that we'll inject this into after we get it built. So, we're going through this 4 times. Well, let's see, less than 3 means 3 times. 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2. Yeah, 3 times. Every time we go through, we're going to do something a little bit different. So temp ID equals I1. Temp text equals oh, we wanted to test the, so yeah, it's got to be iterative for loop. Plus equals, okay, so nothing happened. Probably because I didn't have something. Get LM by ID is not a function. Oh, it's lowercase d, isn't it? ID. Aha. Okay, the first one's undefined. That's interesting. 0, 1, 2, 3. Or 0, 1, 2. So, what? Why is the first one undefined? That's interesting. So, hello world 0, 1, and 2 is right. Oh, because, I think it's because we created a, when we set it up like that, we have a blank, thing in there. A blank, object in there. Yeah, that was it. Okay, yeah, so it does work that way. Okay, cool. Now I just gotta remember not to I gotta go through and take all that crap out of here. Damn. Now I just made more work for myself. God damn it. I hate it when that happens. It's like, aha, it works. Oh no. Now I gotta change 50 lines of code. No, maybe not 50, but it's gonna be a bit. Alright. Damn. Let's see, all these guys, all your stuff, you're going away. Just don't want to have any of that crap in there. Go away, no empty objects. Now, in this one, these ones are fine because we're just doing a one level of objects, not a list, not an array. These are arrays, so we don't want to instantiate anything we're not actually going to set. Alright, so there's probably a few more somewhere. We'll find eventually. Those are the main ones, though. Okay, so now that we know that works, where the hell were we at? We were at here. Yes, this will work. Yeah, because we're pulling the list out and then we're accessing it directly, so that'll work. Yeah. We could test it, I suppose. Yeah, let's just make doubly sure that that's gonna work. I'm 90% sure it will, but just to err on the side of caution. So. I've never thought about a JavaScript class before, and outside of the context of MV. That is. Oh, so it's just defined as a class. Fair enough. Fair enough. We shall do that. Okay, so class test object. Lowercase class. And then everything else is okay. I have to have a constructor, and then you can do stuff. Okay. So just constructor. I'll just copy this. I'm not gonna bother doing the name thing though. Just gonna make an empty constructor. Okay, so we'll have we'll just make a var ID list or something. So function add ID. All right, so test dot so go through and add them, and then on this bit, what we'll just do is this. So I'm going to get ID list dot length, and then test dot sure, we need to put something on the inside here. Say so I'll pass through an ID and some text. Oh, this. I think with these to this thing, I believe. Class properties must be methods. Oh, okay. So set get. Probably should go under the constructor, but whatever. And then we need to do set. So for the set, I'm just going to do whatever, just a random thing. So we're not really going to use that. So add ID, text ID, list underscore text list dot push temp. So then this one, temp ID is going to be ID, and temp text. So basically we're setting up the same way we have the stuff in our example from our code over there set up, so it is a little bit closer of a one-to-one. Okay, we're going to push it back. And we don't need that, because we have this getter up here. So, what about functions? Oh, it can be a property, just not a var. Okay. So you don't need the function definition. Okay. Can I kind of see how this is shaping up a bit? All right, so we have all this stuff. Structure, necessary semicolon. Oh, so even if there's nothing in it. Interesting. So it's saying all semicolons are necessary on these. That's interesting. Text is better written in dot notation. So dot text. What the hell's dot notation for that? No, I'm leaving it this way. Okay, so we're just gonna go through here. We're going to create new. We need to pass through text too. So we're gonna basically do the same thing we did here, sort of. So we have the text, we have that. The text is going to go plus ID. Okay, we'll do a little bit more, I guess. Get rid of that extra. There we go. Then we are pushing it back to there. Then we are calling this. All right, let's see if this runs. Got issues. Setter must have exactly one formal parameter. Damn it. Okay, we won't use a setter then. Oh, because, yeah, it has to have a... Duh. That makes sense. Okay, property push of undefined, because we need to instantiate it in the constructor. Okay, we have to do stuff in the constructor. Who knew? We had to do stuff in the constructor. Text list. Whoa. Okay, what other issues we got? There's not a function at window to unload. Get list, get ID list. Right, because it's called this. Actually, we just got to call dot. Crap. Text list. We don't even need that because it's a property. Aha, there we go. That works too. Okay. So this will work as well. Very good. Oh, jeez. That took longer than I thought it would to verify that. Okay. Let's get this thing lined up again. So that will work too. Very good. Every time I go out of this window, something gets kind of screwed over. Alright, we were back down here. So that works. So we get the ID that way, we parse it to an int. Technically it should already be an int, but in case it's not, we're doing it anyway. Checking it against this, and then if it is in there, we're checking this stuff. Now, for this bit, here's what we need to do. Same thing as this, but we just say level instead of ID. So that gets us through that bit of where we had been using those things. Using the classes one anyway. So, where else were we using it besides there? Okay, down here. Okay, so same thing down here on these. We just need to do this bit. I wasn't even parsing them down here, so we probably don't even need to parse them up there. It is going to make this extremely long, but required levels. So this one, we're just going to use LVL. Okay, so that's all of those. Is there anywhere else where we're using that, though, besides those? Take another gander here. Oh, yeah, we're using it here, too. Okay, we have successfully removed it from everywhere. Good. Let's go and get rid of it. Next up is gender. So, on this one, I think it's just like a straight thing. I think it's just a parameter. I don't think we have multiple genders on here. Multiple possible genders for one. Or, well, maybe we should be able... We should... we'll have a new... The tag option will be both or something else. So we'll have M, F, and then maybe B for both. And that way, we can have classes. You can define a class that can be both of the selectable, both of the genders that you can select. I may also consider making the genders that you can use a property so you can do, you know, whatever genders you want to do eventually. But for now, we'll try and keep it a bit more simple. So where is the there? Yeah, so it's just it's a straight set. So we just need to call set required gender. Or rather, get required gender. Which auspiciously doesn't even exist. No, there's no get for it. Okay, we need to add a get then. Where was it at? Underneath class list. So here. Game. Whoa. Classes.prototype.getRec gender. All right. So that's added. So I mean that whole entire thing gets replaced by that. Instead of doing this, we just say what was it? The GM class is this dot selected class dot get required gender, and you're done. So required gender length. So for the selected class, so how can we do this in a way that's not going to be that should be lowercase. Oh hell, caps lock's on. Let's see. So if get rec gender. I guess we'd say is not undefined and or is not defined and it's not null. So if there is a setting there, we have set something there. We want to then check stuff. So we go down to required gender, gender ID, actor genders. So actor genders. So this is a list that we build that has the gender of every actor in it. So what we can do is say okay, what are all these checks for? So that these ones are self-explanatory. What's this one? Object keys. So we're checking to see if actor genders for the selected actor. Okay, so we're trying to see if there's an entry for the selected actor. And then we're checking to see if the gender matches the gender that we've set up for the class. And if it has, then we're processing. Okay, so let's see what we can do to maybe clean this up a little bit. So the first thing we're doing is we're checking if the class that we've selected has a gender requirement. So I guess you wouldn't have a gender requirement if it was going to be any gender to use it. So I won't have to worry about both, I guess. So if it's not undefined and if it's not null, I should say or, because if it's undefined, it can't be null because it's undefined. So and in that case is going to cause issues because an and says that both have to be true. So both have to be not either or no. I'm thinking about backwards. These are checking if it's not if it is. So if it's not undefined and it's not null, continue. Else, do whatever. So that's fine. Now, so by doing this, we're saying that this is kind of interesting. If either of these is well, it's an or though, isn't it? So I guess then there's an and. So what's that doing then? So let's say that actor genders doesn't pass. It's a 0 because we haven't set the actor note tag for it yet. It's going to try and compare against that, and it's going to say undefined, or it's going to throw an error. Basically, it's going to crash because this won't have anything to check against. It'll pull an undefined, and it won't be able to match it. So we don't want to do these at the same time. We want to do these separately. We want to make sure this has stuff in it, and then do this. Similarly, like what we're doing here, we're checking to make sure the class actually has it. If it does, continue. If not, then we can skip all that other processing we'd have to do. So once we've confirmed that there is a requirement to check, we have to then see if we probably should. We do still have to check this, don't we? We do still have to check it. Okay. Just this bit, though. We're going to go about this a little more methodically than we did originally in this. So first, we're going to check to see if we have a requirement on this class for the gender, and if we do, then we're going to make sure that we actually have actors that exist. Should I check the size of the... I think we do need to check the length of it first. Again, just so we don't have all this extra processing that we don't need to do. So if actor genders dot length is greater than 0, then continue. Okay. So if we do have actors that have been set up with a gender flag, and then we check to make sure that if the actor is present in the actor genders thing, and if it is, then we continue, and if not, we do not continue. Get rid of one of those. Don't need that last one. So now, if we've confirmed that the character that is being worked on for the class change does exist in the actor genders array, then we need to process further. So now we need to check this. Kind of. We'll make a change to this because we don't have the required gender thing anymore. Now it's this thing. And if true, then we do this. Else, we do this. And I just realized that we just need to call this at the end. We don't need to put it on every one of these, so we can do some refactoring there. Oh, okay. No, we do need it there. Never mind. I stand corrected. Or no, wait. No, no. This has to go inside of the loop. Because we're checking this per class now. And we're going through per class here. So on this inside of this for loop, we need to put this gender check. Okay, so we got a problem here. So if we have so not so much on this per se, because there's really only going to be one, but like on oh hell no, I was right. Okay, never mind. Okay, this got to go out. This does go outside actually. The reason for that is because the gender is a singular thing on the class. It's not on the required classes. So, yeah. That only needs to be done once. But, like I was saying now, there is still an issue, so, on these other ones. So, let's say that we have let's say we have some weapons. Let's say there's 2 weapons that are for this class, 2 weapon restrictions. If, let's say the first one is false, doesn't have equipped, has the second one equipped, that would mean that we'd still make this true because this would be true. So if it's false, and this is where we get, this is like what I was saying, like I said before, there's like this weird crap sometimes you have to do with this. Here we are. We are now at that point. We have to flip this around. So if it's false, false else true. And that's still, that's not gonna, that will not rectify the problem. That's still gonna be an issue. It'll just change the way it's doing it. I guess we could say undefined. And then if now the question I have is, will this still cause an issue because this is now undefined and we're checking if it's a Boolean while it's undefined? I'm thinking it's a possibility. To the Batcave, or JavaScript cave, I guess. I think I'm missing a few things. Actually, I think this is value, not text. Yeah, okay. So then function test func. Var b test equals undefined. B test. So if B test okay, so first time it's undefined. What it should do is it should turn to false. And then let's do it this way. Alright, then we'll have a label or something. So, document.get element. So test function is not defined. Okay, so we do have an issue. So, script type text JavaScript. Okay, let's see if it'll do it from there. Okay, there we go. So we got false for the first one. Oh, this one should be not undefined. Or rather, so if not false, set to true. Oh, we do need the else for the first one. Duh. I knew I had it in there for some reason. False. So if it's not false and not undefined, set it to true. If it's not true and not undefined, set to false. That's where the problem was. I went to like switch. No, what are you doing? Alright, so it's false. And it's not defined, not undefined. So it's not true. And it's not undefined. Or no, I was. Oh, God. There could. This probably is a logical fallacy here or something we got going. It probably can only be one state, the way you have it coded. So, if it's not false, it's not undefined, turn to false. Well, it's false. Also, if it's not true, turn to true. Else become false. So that's interesting. It should fall into one of the other ones first. But it seems like it's always hitting this. Huh. Okay. So why are you doing that? Oh, it injects a bunch of crap in there, doesn't it? Holy jeez. Lots of stuff in there. So if I want to see what that's doing. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be an easy way to test it on this. So what the hell? I'm pushing it. It starts undefined. Let's go ahead and restart it. We'll walk through this one at a time. So it's undefined. So it is undefined, so it becomes false. So it becomes false. There we go, false. So it's false. So it is false, and it's not undefined. It's not true, and it's not undefined. So that should be hitting this one, becoming true. But it's still false. That is interesting. So let's do this real quick. We'll set this to false to start with. See if it's some sort of aberration on the... No, it's definitely, yeah. It's some weird issue. Oh, hell. I know why. Duh. Because it's always getting set to friggin'... When we call it, we're setting it. Jeez. Derp. Omega derp. Omega lol derp. Okay. Now, there we go. So, I've forgotten why we were doing that for now. I'm sure it'll become apparent here in a moment. Ah, come on. So I think we were checking to see if we needed to... Hey, Nin. This is a thing called JS Fiddle. It's a program you can, well, it's a website you can go to test JavaScript before you put it into a page. In this case, I'm using it to test out some ideas for how we can restructure some of this code. Okay, where were we? Down here. Okay. So I was saying that if this was it. Okay, that's right. We were saying that if we had this the way it was, we'd always be setting it to true, or to, well, we'd always be setting to true if there was something true after it. Yeah, for my game. This is for that class changer plugin that I've been kind of trying to redevelop to refactor. It is for my game, but it's also something that I have that I've released for other people to use in their RPG Maker MV projects. And I've been decided I was going to go through the 3 scripts I have, or plugins I have out, to make them a bit less crazy and add some more functionality too. So the problem here was that we were going to go through here, but if we had a false and a true, it'd become true, and then we would pass this check when we shouldn't have. So the problem is whenever this is false, that's why I wanted to set these to undefined to start with. We want to make it so that this will fail, because if there's already one false, we don't want to, if it's failed, it's failed. We do not want to pass a failed check. So, if this is false, or if this is not false, then go to this. And if a quote is true, then we want to pass it. But if at any point this becomes false, we want to say, okay, at that point, we don't want to say that we don't want to check this anymore, basically, and we just want to leave it false. I think that'll work. And that's why these are undefined for. And we're checking to see if the undefined would cause any issues or not. They might still. Who knows? MV processes this thing a little bit differently than browsers do in terms of the type checking, or the value checking, I think. So we'll have to see what happens, but I think it'll work. It should work. Probably. Maybe. We need to do the same thing on these. So I think we just need to say, just need to add this if not false check to all of them. And we should be okay. First we'll change this to armor. And do the same thing with the items. Okay, so that should be fine. Now down here, I think we were done with this. I think we determined we were done with this. Except I need to put this up here. So that will change the position for the next item. So there is one. Well, here's the thing. This should be the last thing checked. So we actually don't need this here, because nothing should be added after this. So actually we don't need it at all. Before, what happened was that all the stuff we have combined here now was all split apart. So whenever we got done checking the weapons and armor, then we did the gender, then we did the class checking, now we're doing it all the stuff except for gender, all the things that are per class, per required class, in the same part of the code. And this is per selected class, not required class. It's 2 different things. So we only have to do that once. This can all go away. So how many lines of code has this already been reduced by? So 1837, the original was 1916. So we're getting down there. Almost 100 lines gone so far. That's not bad, considering how complex this thing is. Not as complex as the advanced weapon plugin. That's going to be it's going to be something of its own right. That's like the King Behemoth, Final Fantasy King Behemoth of refactoring. It's so complicated, and all kinds of things go into all different kinds of places. It's going to be a nightmare to go into there and try and clean it up a bit. We shall see. Alright, so we've got this done. This whole function has been cleaned up now. Whether it works or not, we still have to figure that out, but it's been cleaned up, so it should be a little bit more efficient. Now this thing up here, so I think all we really need to do now is just the obvious last one. Everything else can go away, because we do not need it anymore. So all that. We can just blast it away and not do anything with it. Not replace it with anything. So there you go, we're down to 1768. We just blew away like 100 lines of code almost. So we got that. This is based off the class-based. Is this based off of changing class based on the stuff you have equipped, or you choose class? It's kind of both. So this plugin's based off of what you have. Can be based off what you have equipped, but it can also be based off of the main part of it. It's based off of what other classes you've been and what level you got to on those classes. So, like for example, it's designed to like build a class hierarchy, a class tree, if you will. So, for example, let's jump over here real quick. Where is MV? MV, why are you not open? Where'd you go? MV closed itself. I'm not surprised, actually. There we go. Oh, okay, apparently Steam closed, so it closed itself. Steam closed itself and thereby closed MV. More correct. Let's see, what are we at time-wise? 2 hours. Okay, we'll go 2.5 hours. 5 new items in my inventory. Check those out later. Let's see. So, for example, we have these classes here. So, we have Novice, Hero, Warrior. So, if I go to the Hero one, let's just go one higher to Captain. So, we have our job change, class change requirements here. So we're saying that you have to have been class 1, so you have to have been a novice, and class 3, which is a warrior, and you have to have been you had to have reached level 30 as a novice and level 30 as a warrior before you can change to this class. Now there's other classes in the system that use more advanced features like Raider, where you actually have equipment that's also required to change to it. Actually, let's do a different one. Those are restrictions, like FireNet, for example. So class 1 and class 2, so Novice, Hero, level 20, level 15, and Armor 5, which is Flaming Helmet. Now there are other ones like the restrictions here that you saw on this one, where if you have this armor equipped, it's going to restrict you to being able to only change to this class, no matter what other kinds of requirements you meet for other classes. Dead Frontier, stat-based choice of equipment. Yeah. Trying to think of another game kind of like that. I know I've played a couple of those in the past. I can't recall what they're called now. Yeah, I understand what kind of a system that would be. This is kind of like a blending of that plus the traditional kind of class changing system. With a couple of other things there in many, if any, games. Then there's also like a replace, and I forget what replace does at the moment. Does something different though. Replace. Well, let's take a gander at the documentation, I guess. How about you take me to a login page instead of a sign-up page? I don't give a bloody damn. Fine, Microsoft, here. put this into your system and go. God. Ever since Microsoft took over GitHub, there's been stupid crap like this, even though... Let's see, Are you serious? Seriously? Okay, jeez. Now I'll sign in. Good God. I'm gonna go to the working branch. Master is old. Replace. So this feature is not advanced feature, blah blah blah. Feature allows you to define a requirement based on a weapon and armor, which will override existing requirement. Oh, okay. So if you have this weapon equipped, it basically means you can change to it no matter what the other requirements are. So this will take the place of both the class and the gender requirements on this weapon if you have it equipped. If you don't have this weapon equipped, then you have to meet the other requirements to change to it. Gotcha. Nice. I had forgotten what that did. Yeah, it does say clan class. Clan and Dancer are classes from Ragnarok Online. That's where I pulled those from. So yeah, let's see. 1 and 2. So Hero Novice. The best clown you could ever be. Basically, yeah, kind of. I think it's like Clown Scepter or something. Or wait, was it armor or... Yeah, weapon 8. It's Clown Scepter. I was just pulling it out of my arse, and that is exactly what I call it. It's like a clown should have a scepter. That's what it's going to be called. Alright, so, yeah, so that's basically what it is. It's a cheat item. So that would be like, this would be like an item that you'd hide somewhere really well, like make it tied to some crazy optional boss or something. If you're going to put it in your game like this. Or it could be... you can make it as part of a certain system for certain things, but yeah, that's what that does. So, go through, we have our classes. We check each class, we check the weapons, armor, and item restrictions on every class. That is a good point, though, replacements. Because if we have a replace, then all this stuff doesn't matter. So we need something else. We need a replace tag on our stuff down here. Or we need to make another one of these and do a replacement series of these. So how would that work? I mean, and practically work in the code. We know what it's supposed to do. So, if there is a weapon for the class that's a replace weapon, it would bypass all the other checks for the class, including the gender check, which is the interesting one, because that's outside of the loop. So we'd have to have a Boolean flag or something that would be able to be set if there's a bypassing, if we have a replace to bypass it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to this. We'll call it load replacement, I guess. Load replacement, I guess. That's what we'll call it. Or replacements, yeah. Actor type class, yeah, that's all fine. RPLC. instead of restrict, because we're not restricting, we're replacing. Now this thing here. What are we gonna do with this? So before we were going through the restricted class list, checking to see if the selected class was there. Oh, right. So this was something we built up here. Keep on forgetting we moved it. So if it has a replace on it, we are building a like a list of all the classes that have that, and then we're saying, okay, if the class you selected is this, then we have these things to worry about. For replacements, we may have to do I don't want to do one for every type, because that would be stupid. Maybe we do a list of lists, I guess. It's kind of nasty to work with in the code, but it's the best way to do it outside of making a class, which I don't want to do because this isn't really that kind of a thing. So yeah, blah. Okay. Where did we define? There it is. So var rplc list. We'll call it replace object list. It's not really going to be an item or a weapon or an armor specifically. It's going to be all of them. So it has to be able to refer to all of them at the same time. So object works best for that. And so it would be a object. Well, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. If we do that, we got problems. We'll do that in the replace thing down here. Or no, we have to do it in the load in up here. Yes. So, outside of this, maybe even in this, because this is maybe I think we do it here. So rplc object list. So we're gonna do one that says weapons. Well, let's see. How would this actually work? So we do this, and then we say if they have it equipped, then we fire off the flag and break everything, basically. Enable the cheat, as it were. So yeah, I guess we would do that. And we'd have to do it before we do all the other checking, so we don't have any kind of wasted CPU processing and whatnot. So that's going to be a list of IDs. So we just do it that way, yeah. Okay, this will be armor. This will be items. And then we'll just, so under place. So now we need to do a couple new things. First of all, we need to move all this stuff down to here now, that we are thinking about the replacement tag. So wait, replace and restrict. My mind is blowing right now. So just replace. So the third tag isn't always. Oh, sharp. That's what I thought I just saw. Okay, so this is good. Crap. So if 01 is gender, do that. If it's item, do this. So if, oh my god, alright, let's see. So the, I need to see both these things at the same time. What am I looking at? Weapons. Let's go into the weapon one. No, go away, MV. I need to see that bit. Alright, so the first one's going to be weapons, so the first element of that, because what we're doing with this is we're pulling in this line of the note tag, then we're exploding it, splitting it into an array. So every part of this that's this will be the thing we're splitting on. So every time we find one of those, that's a new element. So this will break into 3 different elements in an array inside of the JavaScript. So the first one's going to be weapon, which is true. The second one will be the ID, and then the third one is either going to be replace or restrict. But it can also be replace and then restrict. Or restrict then replace. So it would mean that that particular class would restrict you from being able to change to other classes and this particular weapon. Or maybe we do 2. No, that won't work either. I think it's going to be an either or. You're either going to do a replace or it's going to be restrict. You won't do them both at the same time because that's going to give me a headache if I try and figure out how to do all that. So we're just going to say only 3 and we're going to change all this. So third one. So if the third one is rec data 3 or 2, because the third element of an array is element number 2 since it starts at 0, is that should be an if. If it is restrict else if, because maybe add another third level tag or something, third level tag attribute for this rec data 2 equals. So in JavaScript you have a couple different ones of these. So this means if the value is the same. This means that the value is the same and the type is the same. So and trying to think of an example. So let's say that you have a double or a decimal, like a 2.5 or something, or 2.0, and you check it against a 2. I think with 2 equal signs it comes back as true. 3 equal signs is false because a 2 is not a 2.0. I think I can show that to you over here. So b test equals so we want to say 2 equals 2.0. So I hit test true. Now if I hit equals, this should be a false, I think. Or I gotta hit run first. No, it is true. Damn. Okay. So that's not a proper example for that. What would be? What would be an example? Maybe this. That should come back as false, I would think. Okay, so that's true. There, that's okay. That's an example of how it works. So, I think on equals, it takes the right operand of the expression and converts it to the same type as the left and checks them. If it's equals, it checks the types too. I think that's how it works. Don't quote me on that though. But yeah, so that's why I'm doing 3 instead of just 2, because I want to make sure that we actually have the same type and not just something that kind of looks like it. So equals replace. Okay, and then that's going to be that. So if it's a restriction, we're going to do this. If it's a replace, crud. I got a lot of junk to remove from here. If it's a replace, then we're going to do something else. So replace equals true, and then we're going to call add class replace. Or add object replace, I guess. And then we'll need to make another one of those, wherever that one's at. Oh, here it is. Oh, we have to do both of these again? Well, damn. Okay, I guess we gotta do both of them again. We'll figure out a way to refactor that later. Add object replacement. Let's call it replace. Replacement sounds kind of weird. Process replace object, yeah. So now gotta friggin' figure all this out. So first things first, we need this thing up here. This guy. So this is going to be a... Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. All right. Just wanted to make absolutely sure. So if... how exactly were we building that? So I1 is going to be referring to the object. So we're checking each one of the types, or is it each class? Okay, it's each class. This one's by class. So each class, we're checking to see if the class ID is there. And then checking the, doing this bit. So in this case, though, we are doing it per, that's going to be nasty. Because we have to do this per thing. So if it's an item, or if it's an armor, or if it's a weapon, they have to have their own version of this. Yeah, that's going to be nasty. But we have to do it for science. Rather, if first. If object type equals weapon. Okay, so let's make sure I keep this up here. Come on. Sublime text is the only place my side-scrolling wheel works in, for some reason. Could be annoying. Alright, all this is going into here. And we'll need to tab it in once more. There we go. Okay, so instead we do this. Then we say weapon. Weapon or weapons? I think it's weapons. Weapons, yes. Did I say armors? I said armors, didn't I? No, I didn't say armors. Good. I did not be a moron. Weapon, then weapons. And then we check the length of that. So if we have weapons in there, we're going to see if we have the ID. So this is going to be no class on this. We don't need that. So just object ID. I'm on the right one, correct? Of course not. Of course I'm not. Of course I am on the wrong one. Why would I be on the right one? We'll leave that there. Copy this. Or better yet, let's do this. Leave that there, and we'll just copy this back up above it. We'll have to change the names again, but that's fine. Add class restriction. Replace. And process restriction object. Process replace object. Okay, problem fixed. Not okay, new problem caused. New problem fixed. Okay. All problems and issues fixed. So we got the don't need this. Wait, why is that still? Oh, cause I okay, yeah. I didn't, oops. I undid the removal of that. Alright, so we don't need that. We need this. We need that. We need this down here. And this is going to be weapons. And there. Actually, do we even need the for loop though? I don't think we do. So actually, this is going to be a little less nasty than I thought. Because we don't need to loop through anything, we just need to check to see if it has the object ID as a key. If it does, then we want to go pass what we already have into there, and if not, we want to create it and then pass the new stuff through. Okay. So, new replace object. And list. We don't need, or we do need the current index on that one actually. Actually, no, we don't. We just need the object ID, so we don't need this either. Good. Very good. Okay. Which means we also don't need this either. We just need to say object ID equals, no, actually. Wait. So, actually, if it doesn't exist, we can just add it and not even have to call this thing. Which then now we have to think of why would we need this. So why? Let's see, object ID type, because if the class. Okay, so this is, duh. If it already exists, we can ignore it. So instead. I think we can just say this and do this, and we are done. We don't even need this thing. So a lot less nasty than I thought I was going to be. Because this is different. The other one was if we had the class, we needed to then add stuff to that class object that was already there. We don't have that problem with this. We're just doing straight to the list. So if the key is already there, if the item's already in that list, we don't need to add it again. So we can just skip it and move on to the next thing. Okay, good. So if not there, push it back. We don't even need to do that because we're not doing that. We don't even need to do this because we don't need to do that. Instead, we just call this and we say push back object ID. Well, pushback is C++, I think. The C++ version of this. So object ID. I'm done and done. Okay, that's much more sensible than I thought it was going to be. If the type is instead armor, then we do the same thing, but for armor. And actually, we could one-line this if we wanted to, but I'm not going to, because I think that would look it would be a little bit harder to read if we did one-line on this one, just because of the similar text and because it would be so long, and then right up against this other stuff. So I think it looks better this way. So this is going to be armor, and that's all we have to do for that one. I'm going to pull that back though. And then items, and items. And we are done. Okay, so there are places in there now. So yeah, we just have to call that. So we were on items doing this, right? No, we weren't. We were on weapon. No, we weren't. Where were we? Where were we on armor? Armor, okay, armor is one we did it on. So we just need to copy this. Well, first of all, let's get rid of this extra space. Get rid of that entirely because we're not going to have a fourth one anymore. And then people that have been using this already, that way are going to be really pissed off because everything's changing with those now. But it'll make it a little bit more easier to use, I think. Instead of having, you know, all these things to remember, it's either replace or restrict. Can't have a restriction replace. Okay, so we need to do that for all of these then. So, Control V. Almost, we need one more. Okay. Let's see, this is a weapon. So, now arm object has to be wep object. And this needs to be weapon. But other than that, we are good. Let's grab that. Same thing here. Now, is there a replace tag? Let's just make sure that we have that in there. Or the replace tag is there, but I mean this up here. So, has requirements. So that's part of this. So when we're building the oh right, this is gonna be its own thing. Duh, I keep forgetting that. So that's just gonna go over into this thing, and that'll get set up that way. Okay. So now all the way back down here, in our load replacements. So, which actually we don't need this either now that we did that up there like that, because again, this is to pull the thing out of the oh wait, let's see. Do we even need it for replace? I mean, I guess we do because we're doing a little bit differently. So we're checking if it's equipped or if they have it in the inventory on these. But replaces. I mean, I guess I can see why we might still need it. Well, yeah, because we have to check to see if they have it equipped. If they have it equipped, then we want to do something, not just if it's loaded. So yeah, we do need this still. Never mind. False alarm. And definitely don't want that. Oh, that's where the other buggers were at. I knew there were some more of these somewhere. Okay. Proactive bug crushing before they happen. Now, this is going to happen differently, so we don't need object keys. What we just need to do is say what is it? RPLC object list weapons dot length. So if we have length, we want to loop over this. Or wait, we have to check to see if the class has it as a... So there's the other half of the rub here. Oh no, we were setting those, yeah. So restricted, or replace. So it's either going to have this, if it has this tag, or this tag. These are where those are going to come into play down here. I just didn't like define them up there because we didn't need to in the actual class itself. So, do we, well, we may still need to do this other bits, this other stuff though, because we have to make sure the, let's see, if our class weapons, our class is restricted class, pulling that out. Class ID is the selected class. So this is going to be slightly different. On this one, we'll need to pull the, instead of our class, it's going to be, well, it'll still be our, we'll still keep it our class, but it's not going to be restricted class list. This is going to be the GM classes. GM classes, it's a property, right? Yeah. So, dot has own property. And then get weapons. So in this case, we need to switch this around, so types first, and then everything else. So we'll just throw that in there. Alright, so the types of weapon, we check to see if replace weapons has anything. If it does, then we check to make sure that the class we selected is in the GM classes list, which is going to be, so we don't actually need that. This if can go away. Because, well, no, I think we'd still need it. There's cases where you might not have a class with a note tag, in which case it wouldn't be in this list. So, yes, we do need to check it. But it would be not that, it would just be this. And actually I think this is the wrong one. This returns a boolean. Crap. We need to actually return the key itself, so we need to do a find, I think. So, JavaScript find JSON key. So needle haystack search. I mean, find's got to work in there, right? I guess we could just test it. It's faster than probably looking for it, scouring Stack Overflow for it. So we need to define something different here. So var test equals list of objects. Say ID 2 text test 1. So let's do that. Then equals test.find. And we'll see what that does. Okay, so there's an error. Test.find is not a function, because it should be lowercase. Possibly. 2 is not a function. That's right, find has that freaky text syntax on it. So find function element, return element greater than blah. So find so object, okay. So return. So if probably could do a filter on this or something. Undefined, crap. So that didn't quite work. Neither did that. There's got to be an easy way to do this. So well, that's just a simple array though, not object. Well, maybe there's an object array example. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna names apples, find. Oh yeah, they're doing a kind of a filter. So fruits, fruit.name equals apples. So that's in the function inside of the thing, right? Yeah, so find then that. So this is kind of like a so we have our thing dot whatever equals what we're looking for. So or wait, function I'm just wondering if we can do it this way. It probably won't work. Dot name. This is dot without the. This probably won't work, but I'm going to see if it does. Okay. Nope, it's returning an object still. Alright, so find, so in this case it's test. Oops, wrong one, should be equals. So we're the name. This is some Scrapes coding here. Let's see if this works. Of course not. What do we got? We got test function is not defined because we got an extra thing down here. Alright, so unexpected token test func is not defined. No dot. No, text is not defined. Okay. So, test find. This should return an object though, right? Oh. Really? Oh, hell. I just noticed. Just noticed that typo. Okay, now let's see. Uh-huh. Alright, so now what we need to do with that over here is we need to get the we have to get the weapons, and then of course they're looking at that thing like for the this other stuff too up here where we used it, and it's not going to work up here. Let's see. What we can do though is we can do this. If, and this will be just fine. So if it does exist, continue. If not, then we're just going to say can't change. Then we can do this is just get rid of all this crap. Let's just say, let's do that. So dot has on property to here. Control C H. Let's just grab all this, and we're going to get rid of it all. And selection. Replace all. Okay, so get report classes, I1. Okay, that's good. Down here too. There aren't so many of them, so I'll do them by hand. And then all that needs to get wrapped in that. And we'll just put this also down here. Then we need to tab all that in. Okay, so that solves that problem up here. Now we still got the problem down here though. Actually, no, we don't. I do need to change that up in the other places though. That's the one thing I forgot to fix on that. Crap. CLS, I believe. Or selected class. All right. So if we have a GM classes, crap, that did everything. We only want the ones in here. We want to replace it with GM classes and that. The dots and everything else are fine. Except it didn't seem to do anything. Okay, it should now. 13 replacements, good. Okay, so that should be fixed now. Down here, that's fine. Nice board. Alright. So, now, got weapons type, place weapon list, pull all the weapons from the class we have selected, and then we want to see if any of them match. And if they do, we want to put them into the replace weapons. So they're either equipped or they're not. And then, whoops, RPLC. Okay, there we go. So past class restriction. Yeah, I don't think we need these anymore. We're not setting it in here anyway. Actor has class restriction. We're only using it in here. Okay, yeah, so we don't need it anymore. We're only using it in these two functions, so these can go away for now. We may need to bring it back later, but I think for now we're fine. Okay, hell, got a whole other set of them to do. Alright, now for this. So we've got the replacement weapon thing set up, adding it in, going through, closing that off, closing this off. And this will be an else if. Else if armor type. And then we need to do the same thing, but except for armor instead of weapons. So I'll just leave all the other code there for the moment. So we'll need to So we've already determined that we have that. So actually this becomes this. So we don't need this down here. We don't need this check at all. So I'm going to get rid of one of these. Yeah, okay. Let's replace arm. I do believe they did armors on theirs instead of just armor. Because reasons, I guess. So then, replace armor. Okay. Get rid of that. Once I finish this one up, we'll do, we'll switch over to KSP. I will do some of that tonight. We'll only do an hour though, or well, we'll go to 11 whenever, however much time that is. So item. I'll need to bring this down. Oh, that was weird. Didn't, oh, maybe I didn't grab the other, curly brace at the end there. Okay, so class items. Acquired items. Replace. Oh, and this is the is an inventory thing. Game party has item, yeah. And then the last one has to be false. Class item 1, ID, and equipped. It's gonna be is in inventory. So I thought that's what it was up there, but it isn't. Crap. I must change that then. Otherwise that'll cause a bug. Alright, so is an inventory, items, item, class items, data items, list, class items, length, get required items, item. So. Okay, I think that's good now too. Alright, and then we can do more with that later. Okay, let me go and let's get this out of the way. go ahead and get this updated here. Okay, that's good. And for some reason, YouTube has lost the RPG Maker MV category. No clue why. I went to go set it tonight, and it no longer exists. Very strange. Okay, CCAN, there you were. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to finish what we started last night, which was the docking of the refueling vessel to the station. And then if we have any time left, we'll start work on the base stuff. So the way you have to design the base segments is in the spaceplane hangar, just because of how you have to well, not necessarily. I'm thinking about the rover. The rover has to be designed there so you can design it horizontally. Well, you don't even, I guess you don't even have to put it there either, do you? It's just easier to do it there, since you have a horizontal view instead of a vertical. But you can do it in the space, in the vehicle assembly building, the VAB. So yeah, we'll start building the base stuff for the modules, and then if we have time, and then we'll work on the rover some other time. So what the rovers will do is they will allow you to dock with the base sections, and then transport them to wherever you want to have them at. Where you want to set them up at. So it's not like we're going to fly the sky crane down and like position it perfectly to line up with another section and then dock it and then take off. We're going to come down somewhere near where the side of the moon base will be, drop the thing off, and then drop the base section off, then take the sky crane back up to the station, then control so I tried doing it remotely once before, and the rovers before, and I think it kind of worked and kind of didn't. So you might have to have Kerbals up there in the initial base section that we bring down, or we can try doing remote rovers on this time around as well, and see if I can get it to work properly. But anyway, you take control of the rovers either remotely or with Kerbals, and you bring them both over and you hook them up to either side, because on the base modules you'll have docking ports on several sides, so that they're modular. You'll drag the thing over to where the base is at, and then set it down where you want to connect it, and then dock the new section with what's there at the base, wherever you want to put it. You'll see what I mean when we start building it. I can't imagine we wouldn't be able to start building that stuff. It's not going to take 45 minutes to dock the refueling rocket unless I like blow everything up. That's like the only scenario. If I keep blowing stuff up trying to do it. If I remember correctly, we already have it around the moon. We just need to do the whole interception thing. I think it's also we managed to get a really clean launch, so it's already in the right inclination, I think, for the station as well. So we just have to do our burn into our retrograde burn to get the intersection point, and then get it over to the station. So let me put this up so I can move this in place. Oh, other thing, template. template ho. Alright. Definitely. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to do that. And it happened. It happened, and now I can't. There we go. Twitch, KSP invaded you. Alright, let's try this again. This time clicking way the hell away from where the Twitch window's at. Okay, there we go. So, minimize this. Okay, start game. I'm gonna do resume and hyperscience. Alright, let's go to trucking station and get back into the refueling rocket here. There we go. Okay. So we still got plenty of fuel. What engine is that? The central one. Oh, I didn't. Right, I didn't do any fuel. Interesting. So it's actually almost out. Okay. I think it's Alt. So the only problem here is that we might run into a stabilization issue. So what happens is when you move fuel around, sometimes you can unbalance things. So if this one is lower, we should do this one to here, just to keep things balanced. Hopefully that's close enough to what it needs to be. Should have done them all at the same time, but okay, there we go. And we'll deal with it. I'll do a save right now, just in case. Alright, so first things first. We need to get our orbit to intersect here, so let's do a maneuver and burn retro. Eventually we'll get a thing here. We'll set the... That's already set the target. Okay, good. So now we got to move this around and see if we can get a proper intersect point. They're all pretty far away from each other, actually. Okay, here we go. This is looking good. It's 27 now. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, that should be good. So I think we just have to go one orbit to get over to here. Maybe it's... Oh no, I think this is a 2... We have like a 2-hour orbit or something on this. 3-hour orbit or something. Let's warp there. Yeah, exactly. It's a longer orbit. Alright, so first things first. Gotta do this. Set up this intersection, then we got to deal with the whole creeping up on it. Hopefully I have enough fuel. That by the time I get over there, we'll still have some left to refuel with the station with. Alright, we're locked on. Still got 3 minutes to go, so we'll warp over here somewhere. Close enough. We'll wait to the rest. Now we won't wait with the rest of the time. We'll just close enough. That's close enough. Actually, that might be just about what it was supposed to be. Alright, so let's go ahead and so this thing's gone pretty friggin' slow then. Oh wait, that was not it. Where is it? Oh, it's way over here. I think it's going way faster than we are. Let's warp into here just because I want to make sure we get this right. Oh yeah, that's way, way faster. Alright, so, well, we're actually kind of, I don't know, targets 75. According to this, we're kind of actually already at the same speed, which is interesting. Oh, the intersection have. Okay, so this is where we want to be at then when we get really close. So let's go up to here. And then so actually we need to go faster. Well, no, wait. This is saying that by the time we reach here, we'll be crossing our paths here. So I do want to go retro. Never mind. This thing's going to be really slow, so we'll burn some monopropellant. So that's kind of weird. Oh, never mind. Okay, I get it. Oh, wow, we're kind of, oh, we're not, okay. Our inclination isn't quite the same. Oh, well, that's just going to be, it'll be doable. So at this point, let's go and start burning. We're pretty close anyway to where we want to be at, so. We definitely want to be at 0 before we get past this point, because then we start going further out. The distance starts increasing again. Alright, so there's nothing for it. We just gotta go to it. Alright, let's turn towards the target. God, this thing is so slow. This is gonna take some doing. To stop. So we'll basically have to choose a speed, and then we'll have to commit to it, because we won't be able to rotate the ship around anti-target until with enough time to slow down before we crash if we want to go faster or slower. So, we'll settle for that speed. We'll probably go a little bit faster. So we're on the periapsis, I think, so we're going to speed up a little bit as we go. So we'll have to be mindful of that. Took us, what, 6 seconds to get this to the speed, so it'll take about that to get us back down to 0, so got to keep that in mind too. So we'll get to 0.1 kilometers in about 45 seconds. Which means, I guess that would mean 100 meters. So definitely want to slow down before then. Okay. Here's the other thing, we're actually rotating around. Oh crap. Okay. This is where you get into trouble. This is where you get into trouble. So I believe I want to turn retro. Instead of turning to the thing, we want to turn the direction we're going and burn in that direction. So that we can stop our momentum that way, and then we can go back towards the target. Because this thing is moving, we're not on a stable trajectory to it. The station's moving in weird directions away from us. So when we start moving towards it, it's going to change location from where we were first targeting. So we actually want to aim at prograde instead of at the target once we start. That way we can slow down, or I guess retrograde. So that way we can slow down a little bit better, a little more accurately. Anyway, I think we can go ahead and aim to the target now. To the station, and we can try this. This is why docking is the most... this is why docking is so friggin' hard. It's because if we get things... If we're not on the same inclination, this kind of stuff happens and it becomes a nightmare. So I want to aim retro instead of at the anti-target. So we're aiming anti-target, then we're just going to follow it around and, like what we did before, kind of angle around the thing instead of stay where we're actually aiming. Depending on how much movement it has compared to us, we may... Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Okay. Okay, we are kind of close. I want to aim... I think if I go I think we aim at the station now. We're close enough. We should be able to slow ourselves down enough. Basically, I'm going to go retro, which is probably pretty near where that's at. As long as we don't drift too far. If we get more than like 500 meters, we're going to have an issue. As long as we're underneath like 250, we should be fine. Yeah, so we're not quite moving target right now. Okay, we stopped the bleeding. We are near it, which is good. So we're going to be wanting to dock to one of these sections here. So first I'm going to set that as a target. And you know what? I am going to need to control this thing, because I need to activate those. I can't even friggin' select it. We're so close to it. I think it's Alt-click. If I can get the... Nah, it's not working. Aha, there we go. Managed to click around it there. Hey, we were just over there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to deploy all of these. Just so that they're already deployed. So I don't have to do this again. Alright. Alright, so first things first, let's go ahead and deploy ours. And we're going to say control from here. And we're going to have our target set to, oh, we're going to do, okay, good. So now we're going to turn SAS off, turn RCS on, and we're going to manually take her in. First things first, I'm going to rotate this. Should be interesting. Okay, so forward we go. We want to go up some. I need to see where the thrust is going here. Yeah. So this is going to be ass backwards in all kinds of different ways, because now everything's kind of topsy-turvy here. Because instead of it being flat the other way, everything is going to be kind of altered, since we're... So like what might have been like right before is going to be up, and what might have been left before is going to be down. So I'm going to have to really pay close attention to what the keys do on this one. So I'm going to get to probably around 50 or 60. 60 probably be better. And then we'll slow down, so we can try and get this thing aligned properly. We'll turn SAS on at that point. Actually, I'll turn it on now. What could possibly go wrong with this thing? It's got two giant objects slowly hurtling towards each other. Alright, Alright, let's turn SAS back off so we can... First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right the ship here. Oh, I should have put it on target. Crap, that's why I wasn't doing anything. I was like, what am I missing here? Okay, so... I do want to make sure that we're fully rotated here. I think I want to be perpendicular to the... no, we don't want to be. So I guess this is about right. So, we want to go up a little bit more. I cannot tell you where the hell we're at on this thing. Oh, okay, now I know where we're at. We are way off, that's where we're at. Holy crap. Okay, so... Okay, first of all, we need to go down. And we need to stop our... Well, we kind of have to go down, and we have to go a little bit to the... We have to stop our momentum to the left, but for now we need to go down to the left. Need to get a bit closer. I think we have to angle up more. I can't really tell if we're not close enough. And this is like on a really weird angle too. Now we're really gonna fly blind here. Okay, so we have to go down. So down is... Oh, we're going down. Okay. need to go a little bit more left. Other left. I think we're too far down. Gotta get closer. This is not a very good angle to try and dock on. Are we still drifting down? It might be a little bit. I'd rather be drifting up. Why is SAS not reorienting to this? Oh, hell. That would be why. Okay, that makes perfect sense now. So it's going to try and keep itself stable while we kind of float around to the left here. I do want to kind of try and back off a little bit though. We're getting a little too close and we're not quite lined up enough. Let me get back to like 5 meters. Then we'll try reapproaching. Come on, magnetize, you sons of sunny beaches. Oh, here we go. I think we've got it. Ah, crap, it bounced off. Alright. I may do this a couple times. Once it doesn't get too much speed on it, it won't do too many weird things. Eventually, though, it'll, like, settle in and, like, connect. There we go. A little bit of weirdness there, but we got it docked. Okay. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Alright. So now what we can do is, let's see, which tanks are low? I'd rather just fuel this directly into the sky crane. So now here's what we do. We take all these, let's put them over here somewhere. So you can do all this stuff at once. It's Alt right clicking. So now we're going to select our so once we're done with this, we're going to leave some on the propellants on this, and we're going to send this into the moon and crash and explode. Instead of terminating the flight, we're going to do it the Kerbal way. First though, we need to get rid of all of our liquid fuel. So I'm just going to select one of our things here. I'm going to hit add on all these. And what this will do is it'll transfer the fuel to all of these equally. So they'll be full equally out of this one tank. I think one other thing we should do is we should move all the fuel to one tank specifically, and then move it over to the other ones from there. That'll be easier than trying to manage everything together like that. Only works when you're low on fuel in all the tanks, though. You may have to do this a couple times to get rid of all the fuel. Maybe. We'll see. There's still a lot to fill, and it's going to be coming mostly from this one eventually. Might have to do another one of these. It's going to get filled before these empty fully. Alright, so we grab all these again. So normally what you would do is you would fuel up the actual fuel tanks on the station here, as opposed to these, and then from the station go to those. But since the station's pretty much full, I figured I'd just go right to the sky crane. Okay. Alright, so that's done. So I think it's just these that have any fuel left. If you have Amazon Prime and haven't watched it yet, I'd highly recommend watching The Boys. It's so far it's been pretty crazy. Interesting take on the whole superhero genre. I think we'll also take we'll take some of the non-propellant and we'll move it into the station as well. I won't get rid of all the fuel. We'll get rid of most of it though, so I have some to burn with. Alright, so let's see, monopropellant. It's gonna be this tank, so over here it's this one. And most of it's there. I do think we have a monopropellant tank on this though. Just gotta find it. Yeah, there it is, that one. And it should be full, I think. Yeah. Oh, and actually, no, there is a bit. Interesting. Or no, it's full. Never mind. It is full. So, yeah, we got plenty of monopropellant left then. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to undock this. And then we're going to push N to pull us back. Oh, hell. Turn SAS back on. I thought I was controlling this and I'm not. Oh, jeez. I got so lucky there. I got so lucky there. That could have easily just exploded us into all kinds of fiery bits. Well, it works. And I need to get away from this anyway so I can switch to it. I was trying to switch to it using Easy Wheels to switch, but there was a mod I found that lets you just like shift alt left click or alt right click on a vessel to switch to it in the camera mode, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, so first things first, we want to just point to retrograde. Actually, no, not even. We want to point at the moon, so I'm going to set this to stabilize. Turn on RCS. And I just want to get this thing pointed at the moon. Somehow that seems like it should be way easier than what it's turning out to be. Okay, there we go. Alright, first things first. Let's get stabilized. Let's aim somewhere. Then I'm going to fire my engines, or engine. We're just going to burn what fuel we have left. Turn off RCS. Actually, we're going to turn RCS on, turn off SAS. So basically we just want to try and get ourselves into the moon. So you can see, as you can see, we are actually probably better to do this on retro. But that could work too. Radial out, what we're doing, and it could work too because we're pushing the periapsis into the moon. Either way, we just need to get the orbit to go into the moon. Any amount of speed that we're on right now will sufficiently blow everything the hell up. So. Alright, now we just gotta warp. Then watch as we crash into the surface. I got some really friggin' high mountains around here on the moon. Especially on the dark side. Boom. Oh, wow. It did not all explode like I thought it would. So this is actually going back up. Well, it's not going down. Well, it's actually going away. It's what's doing, not down. I'd assume that eventually we're going to hit again. Yeah. Gotta wait for the inertia to wear off, I guess. Okay. Whoa, what the hell? Turned off SAS and everything flew apart. Oh hell, we're heading out into the atmosphere. Where are we going? Moon escape? Kerbal escape? We're heading to the sun. Holy hell. We are heading to a solar orbit. Wow. That is awesome. Well, it's going to be out of our way, so that was the end goal. Alright, really quick. I'll just terminate the flight. So that didn't quite happen the way it was supposed to. It's the first time I've never been able to blow something up by crashing it into the moon. Red letter day, apparently. A red letter day. Okay. So let's get over here and terminate that flight. Terminate. Also look at the debris here. Also want to terminate all the debris. Jeez, there's something way out there already. Oh, this is the, okay, it's one of the engines. So it actually stayed up in orbit. Damn. Okay, I'll terminate that. I think that's going for a solar orbit too. That's going away. Every once in a while it's a good idea to do this because if you get too much debris floating around, it can really slow things down. That's actually going to go back and crash again, but we'll go ahead and terminate it anyway. That's got a massive orbiter on Kerbin's command comm satellite debris, probably an engine section. What else we got? Hey, we got some debris around Minmus. Wait, what the hell? It's on Minmus. It didn't explode. Okay, that's hilarious. Debris landed on Minmus. What the hell? Okay, alright. So, let's go ahead and, we'll go ahead and build the base component here. So it's basically the standard structure we'll use to expand the base with. FKSP decides not to crash. Okay, there we go. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to use a salamander pod here. On top of this, we'll need to have a docking port. Have to be one of these dudes. That's interesting. It's way larger than that. Do we have something that would fit that then? Oh, that will. Okay. Even though we're kind of covering a mirror, but that'll work. Okay. So we'll use this one then. This Vista astrogation module. Then underneath this, we'll need to do some. Oh, this is right. This we couldn't do the. We need tweak scale for this, really. Well, we'll see if we can make do here somehow. Electrics. That's almost the size we need. Well, we could try doing this a little bit differently. Alright, so once we have that, we need a hitchhiker section. So I'm just going to type in hitchhiker. Never mind, we don't need that. What is it called? It's underneath utility, I think. It's the hitchhiker. Maybe it's underneath structural. Or maybe science. I don't think it'd be in science. Where are you? I wonder if we haven't unlocked it yet. Or maybe I didn't reinstall the mod that had it. It's supposed to be like a... Maybe this is... Maybe we have to go back to the salamander. I think the hitchhiker fits on this. Yeah. So we want to have 2 of these. And then underneath we're supposed to have one of those large batteries, but we only have the one size, the 4,000 one, so I'm thinking we'll probably do 2 of those then. So we can't tweak scale it upward. Oh, never mind, that does fit there. Okay, yeah, it should be fine then, just one of them. Then around this, we have different options that we can do. So first of all, we need legs. So let's put those on. Landing gear. We're gonna need the large landing struts. Let's put this on real quick. Yeah, no, we need. That's not going to be long enough. We need these guys. Yeah. Well, not even. I think these guys. I don't think I used the micro. I know I definitely used. I didn't use the micro. I know that much. It had to be these guys. So the problem here is that we need to fill out space down here. Why will become apparent soon. Let's get rid of this. So if this is the ground, and these are the wheels we'll be using. I think in the middle here will work. We'll have to test it though once we get it built. So what's going to have to happen is we have to try and figure out where to place these in relation to where we're going to put the docking ports on the bottom sections here. Because what we'll do is the rovers will have docking ports on them. They'll dock to those ports on this, and then they'll be able to drag this around after we retract the legs. So positioning of the height of this thing with the landing legs is going to be really important because it has to match what the rovers will be able to do. And it's really a nightmare anyway because if you're on like a hill sort of thing, the rovers won't quite match. So it's still kind of a crapshoot either way, but yeah. We'll give this a try first. Maybe we'll take one of these off. I'm worried about the heaviness of it. So the rover's going to have Clampetron Juniors on it. So we'll need to put Clampetron Juniors onto this. And we'll have to put them on one by one. So... And placement of these is important too, so they're all equal. So we have to get this just kind of like a little bit over this top part. Crap. I've got angle snapping on. So I'm going to get it kind of centered in the box. So like the pinnacle of this here should be lined up with this seam and should be just over the top there. Which is what that one is. Okay, good. Now the reason we want to do it one at a time is because we're going to have different configurations of them. We still want to have them on the east, west, south, and north spots, but we'll have different ones missing. So for the standard one, we'll have it on all of them, and for one version of them, we'll have the one here missing, so we can have a ladder that will go down on this section. So what we'll do, I haven't actually tried, I've gotten enough of these up and connected to try moving Kerbals around between them. But I would imagine they just get out, stick on this, jump over to the other one and get in. That's how kind of close they are. Or won't be too much space in between them. What we could do though, actually, if we wanted to add a little more space, let's pull this off for a second. This one too. You can add one of these attachment points, radial attachment points. That'll give us a little bit of room between the modules. Where you be, radial attachment point? Show yourself. There you are. That's a really big one. Is there a smaller one? No, it should be a smaller one. Unless okay, no, I tweak scaled it down. That's what happened. So I gotta get tweak scale working again. Unless there's another radial attachment. So radial attachment point. So there's a pressurized one. We get the Ranger thermal control system. Why is that coming up for? So they're both the same size. So tweak scale is going to be important. What about some other structural bit? Maybe not attachment point. Like say something like that, but not as big. Something a bit bigger. Yeah, that could work. It will at least give us a little bit of space. And I can also then just grab this as a whole thing and put it wherever we want to. So this has got to come off for a moment. This might be a bit too high. So the bottom edge of the octagonal structural bit should be like pretty much lined up with like the middle of the. Yeah, that looks about right on those. There's no step on these, so I can't really tell, but it looks right. Looks about right. So I think we're good on those. Now, wherever we have a space in between those, you want to add one of these. So for this, it should be kind of in between the steps and just a little bit above them. Actually, with these, we could do. So then normally we'd like have one here, or we could put on a ladder there. So that's the prototype of the base there. The main structural bit of the base. So what we would do is then, is we'd fly this up. We'd have a docking port up here. Fly this up on a rocket. We'd have some stuff down here for the rocket and the liftoff stages, and then we'd decouple all of that. Have RCS on this bit, or actually more correctly, we would wait to decouple this from the rest of the rocket when we got this docked with the sky crane. So we dock this with the sky crane, drop off the rocket section, and then get rid of it. Then we'd have this on the sky crane, and we could drop this down to the moon. So let's call this base module 1 prototype. The reason I'm not giving it a proper name, is because these are going to be sub-assemblies that will bring in to other rockets, and I'll show you that next time. For now, though, we'll save it as a prototype. Save it with this name. So that's going to be it for this stream. We'll do some streaming tomorrow. We'll probably do Guilty Gear, Xrd, Dragon Ball Fighters, and possibly Undefeated, and some other games. Won't do KSC though. We will do another KSP, not C. I'll do another KSP stream on Friday. So, thanks for tuning in if you did watch live on Twitch or YouTube. Comments or questions, leave them in the comment sections. I would appreciate it if you'd follow or subscribe, and I will see you next time.